Like, press button, I'm like, that's the button I'm gonna fucking press. And
Mhm. Yeah, you're like, "Alright, let's start it. Leave." Oh, man. Okay, welcome to Unscripted Strength. I think this is episode 23?
24, I checked right.
24.
Yeah.
Um, if you think we've been on a little bit of a hiatus, you're wrong. We haven't at all. This is actually we're just picking up where we left off. No, welcome back. Thank you for joining again. We're busy. That's what happened. That's the brass tacks of it. And if you don't like that, suck it up, honestly. Nothing we can do. Day's trying to get a PhD, which is sick as shit, and that makes her busy, and I'm busy as well, so sometimes our schedules don't line up, and we have other stuff we have to do. So that's just what it is, bro. Um, so, we're just gonna ask you to subscribe. We haven't put content out in a while, and that is your problem, not ours. And we need new subscribers. So do it. Just do it. You have to do it. If you don't do it, I'm gonna be really pissed about it. No, please subscribe. The plan is to continue just making our podcast, and then as both of us get less busy, which doesn't really seem like something either of us do. But the plan is to make this a little bit of a, thing we do more consistently, right? You agree?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. We're gonna start like we always do, which is we're gonna go over what our training has been like, and I am curious about what your training has been like because you've been so busy, and I know that you're not missing them. But I haven't even seen you posting on the old IG story about
I don't even
your
work out anymore, honestly.
shut, dude. There's no way that's true. I'd find you in a ditch somewhere.
Yeah.
There's no way you're not working out.
Yeah. It's been, what's been interesting is I cannot wake up early and work out. I can't, like, I wake up every morning feeling like a truck hit me. So,
Whoa.
biggest difference for me, yeah, it's like I do not feel good. Every morning I wake up exhausted, and like every day I'm like, I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and I'm gonna work out because it makes my life way easier. And I wake up and I'm like, there's absolutely no way I can. Like, I wake up with a migraine. I wake up like body's not feeling good, stomach has been hurting a lot. And again, it's kind of like we all know what's going on. It's just like the accumulation of chronic stress going on. It's just my body's responding to it. So I've been working out during the days or the evenings. So like when I get home sometimes at like 6 or 7, that's when I'll do it. Um Before, like, usually in the mornings and afternoons, I'm in school or in the lab. So my normal schedule is I get to the lab early, I do some like stuff in the lab, I go to class for 2 hours, I go back to the lab, and then I have usually teams in the evening. So like, let's say my first team comes in at 4, so I'll go to the gym, McHale. I'll go there and I'll do like cardio 3 to 4 before my team. And so like,
Mhm.
which I hate to do because then I'm just gross and sweaty, and like coach, it's just like I smell like the whole thing. It's just not, I hate doing that, but it's so like really what's working for me right now, just because
Mhm.
like the mornings, absolutely no way. I've been telling myself that this whole semester I'm gonna work out in the morning, and it hasn't happened. It's happened once, and I'm like, "This I just can't do it right now." Like, my body's just not feeling good. So, that's how that's been looking like, but I've still been doing all my workouts. I've been consistent with it. Yeah, and like, my lifting right now is pretty basic, but I am doing, like, a lot of accumulation of, like, body weight stuff, so a lot of
Mhm.
pull-ups, a lot of body weights, in addition to, like, weighted stuff. But before I start or end my sessions, I'll do, like, a high volume, like, uh, push-ups, pull-ups, or squats or something like that. So,
Mhm.
doing a lot of that stuff, and then running has been pretty much very similar structure to what I had before. Probably more easy stuff going on right now. So, I just got about a month left and then of this type, and then we'll see what my training turns into.
Oh, Maybe some morning workouts again.
I know, I miss it. I hate being sweaty in the middle of the day, like, at work. So, I like to
Yeah.
eat early, shower, and then the rest of my day is fine.
Yeah, but it's gotta be important to get some to not wake up earlier so you can get sleep.
I know, I know. But, yeah, I mean, because I've been sleeping in a little bit, because I'll set my alarm early, and then I'll just snooze it,
Mm.
shut it off, and then another alarm goes on, so I've been pretty consistent with sleep.
When is the first alarm going off that you're snoozing?
Usually around, like, 4:20.
And then when do you get up?
Probably around 5-ish. Yeah.
I have
But
a crazy question for you here.
yeah.
Have you thought about not setting the 4:20 alarm so that you can just sleep until 5?
No. I've done
Okay.
it a few times. I've done it a few times, but there, it's hard for me to wake up to work out, but I'll use
Mhm.
the time to wake up a lot of times, I'll wake up to, study.
Okay.
So then I study from, let's say, like, 4:30 to 6:30, just and it's nice because it's quiet, my brain is fresh or whatever, and so I'm
Mhm.
just, like, studying, like, pretty consistently, like, no gaps, not getting distracted, and then I
Mhm.
just go to work after,
And what are you studying right now? Are we still on the study of diarrhea?
but yeah, diarrhea was the GI tract was the previous 2 weeks,
Mhm.
so that was what we were learning, and then now we're transitioning to renal physiology, so kidney stuff,
Mm.
and then after that, I forgot what the last actually, let me see what the last
And the question I have to ask, because I haven't been able to ask this, is what is your favorite, fun fact about diarrhea that you can give us? As it per is it diarrhea as it pertains to exercise, or just you got the
Yeah,
rheas and you're having a bad time?
both, because there's different types of diarrheas, right?
Bro,
Actually,
okay, first of all, before you go, there's no Instagrams out there right now talking about diarrhea, so
I know, actually, this
if
is what
we have a lane that you can go into.
this is it. Uh, which it's interesting. So, like, we were taught like, one thing we learned about was, like, the structure of, like, the epithelial layer, like the GI tract, right? And there's these things called villi. And so for those who don't know, villi is like this little, I don't even know, like loopy structure, like, yeah, little hairs on the layers, right?
Mhm,
And they have within it a capillary, like concurrent circulation within it. So that concurrent circulation, some of it is oxygenated, some of it's deoxygenated, going within each villi. So, because of that concurrent circulation, there's this oxygen gradient in there. And that oxygen gradient is that at the base of the villi, it's more oxygenated, and at the top, it's pretty deoxygenated. So,
okay,
rest normally, where it's in a hypoxic state, but
okay,
enough for it to be sustained
okay.
and for the villi to work and the epithelial.
Hypoxic is less oxygen.
Exactly.
Okay,
And so that's the normal state. When you exercise, what happens? Blood flow is like redirected to muscles that are working, heart rate, things like that. Circulation is kind of like just kind of distributed to the you got your fight or flight mode is on. So that blood flow is redistributed out. Like, hey, your heart needs more blood flow, your working muscles need more. The GI tract, you're not using it when you're running.
mhm,
It's yeah, we're gonna redirect the blood flow that normally goes to GI tract somewhere else.
mhm,
Now there's less blood flow going to the GI tract, and
mhm,
those villi are already deoxygenated, right? They're in this hypoxic state, and now you're taking away the blood flow that's going to them, so now they become even more hypoxic, and when they become more hypoxic, what happens? They die off, right? So
oh, whoa,
your exercise, let's say you're doing a marathon, all
huh?
those villi, the epithelial layer, which is your protective layer on your GI tract, starts to die off, right? So now your gut lining that usually protects your gut is losing its integrity, it's breaking apart. And so things become leaky and things being secreted from the GI tract that's not normally secreted and would have normally been like
Oh, shit.
Yeah, because the villi are responsible for absorption, right?
Okay.
Villi is responsible for absorption. When you absorb things, your like nutrients and water. When you secrete things, that's when you have diarrhea. So
Mhm.
villi, the absorptive epicenters, are being taken out and killed, and so now there's less absorption. Secretion takes over. Diarrhea.
Whoa.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah. So
So, how do you not get the rheas?
so you know how a lot of times like we take eat candy, take gels or whatever, especially for
Yeah.
duration exercises like marathons.
Mhm.
You know, a lot of times we look at it from a nutrition standpoint of like, oh yeah, it's to kind of replenish, glycogen stores and all this
Mhm.
stuff, right? But also it's because it's redirecting blood flow. So
Oh, shit.
in gels that have sugar, that have electrolytes, those electrolytes are absorbed, and that allows for water to follow the absorption,
Huh?
GI tract, and then blood flow then goes down a little bit, so it becomes less hypoxic. So it like
Whoa.
perfusion in those areas.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
It's so interesting. And so this is like what like this class like takes so much time, and it's just like cramming information, but you learn some like cool stuff that like normally you wouldn't if you
Dude,
class or like
this is why when you texted me and were like, "I'm the diarrhea lady," I was
yeah.
like, "This is the coolest shit I've ever heard. I wanna know."
Yeah.
Because I mean, what other time in life are you going to a class and someone's like, "We're gonna learn about why we shit ourselves."
Yeah. Ex
Never, dude.
exactly. So,
That's like one of those things where people take for granted when they turn their lights on. How many people do you think understand how that happened?
yeah.
Nobody. Nobody sits around like a weirdo and fucking goes to a rabbit hole of why electricity is even working or where it comes from,
Yeah.
you know? People don't sit around, they're like, "Hey, isn't it crazy that I shit myself every time I go on long runs?" And
Why?
and then this is what they do next, they go, "Yeah, it is crazy." Anyway, moving on.
Move on.
Whatever, moving on.
Yeah.
They don't know why, and I guess some people I mean, obviously you're like that. Maybe that's why we get along. Because that shit happens to me and I'm like, why do I shit myself when this happens? You know, why do you get like an upset stomach? You know, like anxiety shits, you
Yeah.
know? I fortunately do not get them, but I know plenty of people who the moment they're anxious, and it must be similar to the fight or flight response causes, what did you say, secretion? You
Fight
flood the stomach with water.
is like vasoconstriction in certain areas
Mhm.
in order to redirect the blood flow to other areas like that are working.
My stomach's dilated, dog. It's dilated. I have a non-hypoxic belly. That's my thing. That's my secret power. I'm
Yeah.
never hypoxic in
You
the
could just
intestines.
absorb all nutrients all the
Oh,
time.
okay, so that was my question for you to go down this rabbit hole a little bit.
Mhm,
When you are running long term like that, or you're exercising or whatever, and you're in this state where your stomach is now more hypoxic. Maybe stomach's not the right word, but you know what I'm saying. The
mhm.
belly area that digests stuff and absorbs nutrients. If those are more hypoxic and dying, does that mean that you are less productive at absorbing nutrients?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Right, 'cause those like, that's where absorption occurs. There's, like, transporters on the epithelial layer, from the lumen to the blood, uh,
okay.
and those they're cells, but they're called enterocytes. They absorb electrolytes and nutrients, and then
Mhm,
water follows that direction because of something called an osmotic gradient. So if you've taken chemistry, you'll know that usually water goes from low to high concentration
mhm.
in order to reach an equilibrium. So that's exactly what's happening. Is like those if you're in that hypoxic state, there's going to be less absorption. Um,
Interesting.
yeah, in addition to the less blood flow, so there's less nutrients being transported there, so there's gonna be automatically less absorption, but also if those villi die off, less absorption because that's where it happens, yeah.
Whoa. So this is part of the reason why when I hear people give half-cooked concepts about how they're so sure that carbs are bad for you or, whatever fucking shit they decided because
Yeah.
of a YouTube video they watched, immediately I'm like, "Oh, You actually just don't understand how complicated the body is.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing. Like, if you've made a decision about something like that and your evidence for me is like, "Yo, check this dog out on YouTube," I'm like, "Alright, I'm out, bro." Because it's crazy how complicated it is.
It's so insane, and it's so interesting to read stuff we know I'll use the research that we're doing in the lab. Like, we know that chronic stress is not good for you, and there's
Mhm,
evidence that shows if you're under chronic stress, you have a higher risk of getting cancer. Because when you're under chronic stress, the whole pathway essentially, yeah, it leads it leads to, higher rates of proliferation and all these things. And so it's like, we know chronic stress is bad, but acute stress, like exercise, actually is
mhm,
healthy. And there's a
mhm.
like thing going on there. So it's like, well, how much stress is too much stress, and what's the exact pathway that leads it to be bad versus good, and that's still being figured out.
Mhm.
So that's another thing. We also, it's another thing we learned in this class,
I
and that
want to know.
also shows like the complicatedness of things. And I think it's a
Mhm,
popular topic right now is GLP-1s. Right? Because there's, like, the people who are for it and the people who are against it, and they each have different reasons.
mhm.
But, like, learning about it, it's like, oh, there's just still so much unknown and so many things it does to the body because these receptors are everywhere. They're in your brain, they're
Yes.
in your whatever. And so it's like, they have an effect on your vasculature, but they also have an effect on your pancreas, but they also have an effect in the brain. So
Mm,
it's like, and if you shut off the receptors in your vasculature, for example, in your vascular smooth muscle, so it blunts the blood pressure effects that GLP normally has, but you still get weight loss
uh-huh.
and a suppression in appetite. Versus like normally if those receptors are on, you still get you get the weight loss, suppression of appetite, but you also get decrease in blood pressure. So like it's not just like a uniform light switch. It's like all
Mhm.
these switches, and then you may turn one off and it may flick another on, and it's just like
But yeah.
so complex.
Yeah, dude, the more I learn about the body, the more I'm sure that when someone has I think it's generous to say half-cooked concept about, like, how what like keto, the body doesn't need the whatever. It's like, okay, sure, but like obviously that's not the full picture. Like, no, you should only eat fat. Carbs are actually the devil. It's like, okay. Because like even in my understanding, I knew like even when keto was starting, I knew that the thing that keto was doing at the end of the day was making glucose.
Yeah.
That's what it's doing, right? Like you're trying to make energy, and you can make it in a couple ways. But so being like with the moment you start asking questions like, okay, well, why are you doing this? And like, well, because of this. And then they're like, what about this? And they're like, I don't know. I don't know. Past the first thing you asked me, I have no idea. It's like, okay, okay. Well, and to your point, have you? I don't remember. It was some. God, did I hear this from Hamilton Morris? Maybe he used to do documentaries. I think he still does, but he used to too. Anyway, he used to do drug documentaries, or he does drug documentaries, and I think he said in chemistry they talk about there being no free lunches, like with medicine, like medical chemistry or biochem. There's no free lunches. So anytime you take something that is going to alter a thing that you think it's altering, it is also doing a bunch of other stuff. And he
Yeah.
talks about how the differentiation between main effects and side effects are things that we just don't like. That's
Mm,
the only difference. We have like, oh, the side effect of this drug is this thing. But if you just looked at it, it's like, actually, that's just what the drug does when you take it.
yeah.
You know, like Advil, does whatever. Thins out the blood or causes some help with pain, but it also does other things, but we call those side effects. You know what I'm saying? Like, and
Yeah.
maybe some side effects are like it damages the liver, but why does it, is it because it's a toxin and that's one thing, but some of these side effects are like nausea, dizziness, whatever. Those are the ones that are always with drugs. It's like, well, is it a side effect or is it just like a product of taking this medication. You know what I mean? And maybe I'm wrong there, but the thing he was talking about is like, drugs just do things, but they do way more than you think they're doing. And
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff they do is under the hood. It's not even stuff that you can perceive. It's stuff that's like you said, it's like you touch this light switch and 42 other light switches switch to 0 or 1.
Yeah.
Like you just can't close the door real quick. But, you touch one light switch and then other like 22 or 40 other zeros and ones turn on and off. And
Yeah.
people are like, "No, no, no, it just does this." And it's like,
No. Yeah.
I wish it did. That'd be really cool. But you
Exactly.
can't untether this switch from all of the other switches. And
Yeah.
there's so many switches. That's the thing. You start Googling shit and you're like, "Oh wait, hey, what do you mean this does this?" And you click on that thing and it's like, "How did
Ex
I get here? Why am
Yeah.
I in the toe?" And you're like, "I don't know. It's just what the body does, dude. It's not my fault."
And it's crazy. I think it's like and the more I learn, the more I realize, like, how much the brain is involved in everything and things you don't really think about, uh,
Mhm.
which, like, makes me wish I kinda went down the neurophysiology side of things more, uh,
Mhm.
because it's like, I feel like everything ties back into neuro stuff. Um, like, another 'cause we learned about the GI tract and, like, metabolism and all that stuff.
Mhm.
One other thing that I heard in a seminar. So every Friday we have a seminar where someone go comes from like a different university who's a researcher and they present their research and it is so dense. It's a 15-minute long presentation. They have me for 5 minutes. The rest of the time I'm like staring off into space. So
Yeah.
I usually never get past an introduction.
Mhm.
But there was this one guy who was talking about feeding behaviors and like how it ties into the brain, which is like a very popular thing now like, metabolism in the gut is probably one of the most, like, common popular things to research now, and
Sure.
so he was looking which is rightfully so, there's so much going on, but one thing he mentioned, and we actually learned it in class too, was that, like, when you like, when people talk about, like, weight loss in a general sense, or like, you can substitute things like use Splenda instead of sugar, right? And that
Mhm.
solve your issues. And one thing he mentioned was like a lot of times that doesn't solve issues because the different receptors that are turned on by sugar versus sweet artificial sweeteners. So like when let's say I have sugar right now, like actual sugar. There are receptors that are going to be
Mhm.
turned on that lead to a synaptic signal through the brain stem that get turned on. And this like signal just keeps, it's kind of like a relay switch. It keeps relaying and it gets to my brain and releases dopamine on
Mhm.
part of my brain, like the amygdala and the hypothalamus and all that. Those get lit up and then it's like a reward pathway. So I
Mhm.
have this sugar, my reward pathway. So now my body's like, obviously you're not consciously thinking about it, but it's like, oh, I get rewarded when I have sugar. When you have artificial sugar, it turns on another receptor called like T1R or TR1, one of those two. It gets turned on, but it doesn't have the same signaling to the brain. It has minimal synaptic signaling um,
Mm.
to the vagal fibers. So instead, it just tastes sweet, but you don't get a pathway to your brain saying like, "Hey, you're rewarded."
Interesting.
So naturally, your body's like, "Well, I'm going to go for the sugar because there's like a reward associated."
Yeah.
Body's natural way of, like, choosing foods that have some type of, like, nutrients in them versus, like, wasted
Oh.
yeah, or wasted
Whoa.
foods, yeah. So I thought that was interesting. And then that was, like, the first 5 minutes of his presentation. It was like an introduction, the rest of it, I got lost.
Dude, that stuff's crazy. There was I wish I remember which Huberman Lab podcast. It was one of the ones where, uh, I think I don't know. The Huberman Lab thing kind of got a little bit weird for a while, and
Yeah.
but he has people on like every time he has neuro people on, I feel like it always stays in like this normal lane of their shit. It's
Yeah,
when it's outside, it's like like uh,
yeah,
yeah, he was like reposting functional patterns, like Nadia Aguilar's functional pattern shit, and the
yeah,
whole fitness community was like, "What? What the fuck are you doing?"
yeah,
Anyway,
yeah,
they were talking about that and like I think it was there is an episode on GLP-1s and that brand of like that universe of drugs, and the research they've done to kind of figure some of that stuff out is really interesting. Like there was one where they do like an ablation of like a part of the brain stem for this
Mhm.
rat, and that does not change how many calories the rat would eat. And they thought like, okay, we're gonna do this ablation at this part of the brainstem, and it's just gonna die. Like it won't eat anymore. But they
Mhm.
do it, and the rat still eats the same amount of calories every day. Like it doesn't change. Obviously this is rat studies, but the you know I think yeah, like just like you're saying, like the brain's really good at not letting you fuck with some of the stuff under the hood.
Yeah.
Like weight loss is a weird one. I know on one of these podcasts I listened to with two neuro people, similarly really dense, but one of the things I took away from it is that like as you start to lose weight and by that I mean reduce your caloric intake below what your brain wants you to be having, your body, the like non-exercise activity stuff, the fidgets go
Mhm.
away. The less calories you have, the less you fidget.
Mhm.
And also they've done some testing on none of which I've looked into, to be clear. But they've done some testing on movement efficiency in a caloric deficit in
Mhm.
like walking and stuff like normal daily activity behavior, and you become more efficient in your movements as to use less calories because you have less calories available. So it's like you're like, okay, I'm going to take these calories away so that I can lose weight. And your brain's response is like, I'm going to move less. I'm
Yeah.
not like, I don't really want to do that,
Yeah.
and like, it's why like people who are successful at losing weight will be in the calorie deficit, in my opinion, and then continue moving the way they were before and like put in a lot of effort to continue this because your brain's really good at being like, I don't want to fucking do this.
Yeah.
I need the calories. Like, why are you fucking doing this to me?
Yeah.
But there's just like some stuff that like your brain is just like, yeah, like and you're right, it's like in here. Like some shit's going on up in here behind the hood, behind this like you that you are that's like, switches and dials that are being turned and pushed, and you do not realize it's happening at all. Your brain just like, oh, this is what we're doing. Sorry, dude.
It's crazy. It's like, when you read studies on, like, autism
Hmm.
and things like that, and, like, how the brain affects, like, behaviors, I think that's always interesting because like, a lot of times we think of behaviors of, like, a nature, nurture type thing.
Hmm.
Uh, Nature, we look at it more of, like, DNA, what like, what was passed along? Was this pa and then nurture in terms of how you've been brought up, but a lot of times when we look at the nature, we kind of forget about, like, brain patterns and,
Hmm.
like, that people have, like, certain things going on. Again, I'm not a neuro person, but, like, I've read a few studies, and it's just, like, so interesting how impactful, like, something in the brain is to someone's, like, overall, like, personality or behavior.
Hmm.
So, like, some of the autis there was this one study on, like, this monkey that was diagnosed with autism, and they were doing
Oh,
studies monkey, and I forgot what the details were, but I thought it was interesting, like, that that whole thing.
yeah. Dude, the brain's crazy. Maybe you should just get rid of, like, change your PhD right now and just completely switch to neuro.
I know. The
It would be, s-
professor in this neuro is, like, one of the nicest guys.
it wouldn't be stressful at all.
No,
It'd
not
be
at all.
totally fine.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find, there's a philosophy channel I love. Um, where let me see if I can.
Philosophy?
There's a philosophy channel I love, and they talk. Oh, okay. They talk about. It's like he talks a lot about. It's called his channel's called The Cosmic Skeptic, but it's just a philosophy channel, and that's all he talks about is philosophy. And it's like my favorite channel. I watch it fucking constantly. And it's like some like big brain ideas about like the theories of existence and words and blah blah. It's like kind of dry philosophy shit. It's been my like little side interest for like a long time. I love it. But they were talking about, like what consciousness is, their ideas of what it could be, or the fact that it is kind of weird and complicated. But they were talking about a corpus callostomy. Have you ever heard of this?
Mm-mm.
They separate it's a split brain. Um They cut the corpus callosum, which is a nerve band of fibers that connects the two halves of the brain. Um, and it's treats severe uncontrollable epilepsy is what they do this for. The weird thing with this is so he talks about the studies they do on people who have had corpus callostomies. And again, this is they take this like center line thing that basically bridges your right brain and left brain and lets it communicate, it sends information across the bow, is how he talks about this. So if you separate that and then you block one eye and you like show them an apple and say draw the apple, they can draw the apple. Okay.
Mhm.
If you put the apple in the other eye and you cover, only you can see it on one side, they'll say, "What do you see?" Nothing. Okay. Can you draw something for me? They're not perceiving the thing. They can't say it, but if you make them draw it, they'll draw an apple. But they're saying they don't see the apple.
Yeah.
Okay. And then if you ask them why they draw an apple, they will give them some story like, oh, I was just thinking about whatever, and then, oh, I thought of an apple, so I drew an apple. But clearly, the brain sees the apple. So it's like the auditory processing and the visual processing fields get separated, and they still kind of talk to each other, but they're not processing correctly. And it's like, dude, it's trippy. So it's like an hour and a half video just about they're talking about the corpus callostomy and how weird these studies are and how it kind of messes with how people think about what consciousness is. Because if you do this, it's like now you have two separate parts of a brain that are taking in external stimuli and not it's like they're seeing it's like two different worlds that they're living in. And like one side, if you show one eye and cover the other one, they like tell a story, but they can't tell you they see it because it doesn't control language. And then if you show the other one, they'll draw it and they'll tell you they see it. But those two things don't talk anymore. Trippy, dude. And the way they talk about this is just like I was sitting there. I probably listened to this one video of them talking about it like 3 times and was like, I don't like any of this, dude. I don't like it at all. But I'm gonna restart this whole video.
It's like you really have to focus to, like, get the deep
Oh yes.
and, like, the terms they use in, like, neuro stuff, it's like parts of the brain. It's like, "Wait, which part does what again?" Like, I always forget which parts of the brain does what and what it's
Hey, do you remember which one is the part of the brain that gets
no,
bigger and dude, anterior mid-cingulate cortex, baby. Come
there it
on
is,
now.
there it is. I will never remember that. It is nuts, man.
I swear to God, this anterior mid-cingulate cortex was burned into my brain the moment he said it, and I can't tell you why it happened.
I remember the episode, and I was like, I need to remember this," and I just don't, and, like, yeah, it gets
Yeah.
brought up so much, and I still cannot remember.
AAMC. AMCC, sorry, that's what they call it. AMCC. Maybe you'll remember that. But yeah, I don't know. That fucking word is just like so deeply ingrained into my brain that it'll just
Yeah.
never go away, apparently. You can say like, what's the hardship part of your brain? Like, anterior missing cortex dog. I know, and it makes you sound smart. I'm like, yeah, fucking no big deal. It's just
I've
anterior
learned
missing
everything.
cortex. And they're like, what else do you know about it? I'm like, nothing. Apparently, it gets bigger when you do hard shit, but you
Yeah.
can't like it. You can't like doing the hard shit. You have to do hard shit that you don't like to do.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, thank you for educating us about diarrhea. I legit love it, dude. I think it's so sick.
It's so crazy how interesting it is, and then, like, we got into, like, the cellular stuff too in terms of, like, what transporters are involved and, like, how
The
how things
diarrhea transporters?
yes,
Fuck yeah.
the cell transporters that, like, absorb or secrete nutrient, water and all that, um, which lead to diarrhea, but
hmm
it's interesting.
Dude, I'm telling you, this is such a good topic. Like, getting into running and biking and like being more involved in that community, and by that I mean there's a shit ton of run or bikers and runners that I work with at the gym, and talking to you and Carmen and like knowing about like the tri world and like the ultras and marathons, whatever, how crazy they are. I'm sure so many people shit themselves and have no idea why it's happening.
Yeah,
And the next question I have is there stuff that we know about that you can do to lessen that?
yeah.
Is there?
gels. I mean,
So
like, how
putting
do you
some putting food in your stomach is bringing blood flow back to your gut.
yeah. And also, like, let's say you have diarrhea, and let's say it's not exercise-induced diarrhea, but, let's say it's like a more like a toxin diarrhea
Uh-huh.
where, like, you have some type of bacteria, whatever that's causing this diarrhea. Um, right? A lot of times people think and this may be, like, common knowledge if someone's, like, in the nutrition space, but I think it's not common knowledge to the general population. But,
Mhm.
you have this crazy diarrhea that's from, let's say, E. coli or whatever,
Mhm.
feeding yourself and you're to the point where you're, like, pretty dehydrated. So what do people think that they need to do is they drink water.
Mhm.
"Yeah, I gotta drink water to rehydrate," but that water's not going to the blood, it's staying in the lumen, and it's not being transported to the blood because water is only absorbed if there's nutrients absorbed, right? Because that
Mm.
create the osmotic gradient of, like, a low concentration and a high concentration. So, that water sits there, so it's like, well, no, that's why you need to have things like Pedialyte, right? That's where that comes in because it has electrolytes, it has, glucose, uh,
Mhm.
sodium, potassium. So those things get transported from the lumen to the blood through the transporters um, that are not damaged by this bacteria. A lot of times these transporters stay intact, but they're not activated because there's no nutrients to activate them. But let's say you have Pedialyte, now you activate them. They're like, oh, hey, we can pull this glucose through, we can pull this sodium through. It gets transported into the blood. Now you create that osmotic gradient, and water's like, okay, now I can be absorbed. And then that's how you become dehydrated.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So my grandma's intuition every time I was sick to give me Gatorade instead of water was
Yeah,
correct.
exactly. We kind of just like take that for granted, right? Like I remember
Mhm.
this, like my parents don't know, they're not physiology people, but like every time I was sick with like the flu or something, they're like, here's Gatorade. And
Mhm.
the Gatorade with like sugar and all that. Yeah.
Mhm. Dude, every time in this house, if anyone gets sick, cold, flu, whatever, because 'cause you're gonna get dehydrated. Cause
Yeah.
like, information I've taken from, old grandparents taking care of you was, like, when you're sick, your immune system's working really hard, so you need to give it stuff,
Yeah.
which is, fucking true. You need to give it nutrients. And so anytime my grandma would give me ginger ale and Gatorade.
Ginger ale, man. I
Uh,
fucking love ginger ale.
it's the
Like, yeah,
best.
it
Wait, wait,
reminds
wait. What kind of ginger ale do you like? Because this will
like Canada
potentially.
Dry.
Okay, you like Canada Dry?
Yeah. Yes.
I'm gonna have to tell Katie that she's wrong.
What does she like?
Uh, I gotta ask her. I gotta ask her. Give me 2 seconds.
While you do that, I'm gonna let Ozzy out.
Hey, what's your Canada Dry flavor? What's your Canada Dry flavor? Okay, thanks. Katie likes Schweppes because she's wrong.
Oh, Schweppes. Yeah, I don't like that one as much.
Mm-mm. No,
No.
and Katie'll fight you on that. She thinks it's the best, and I think it's disgusting, and Canada Dry is so much superior, it's crazy.
Yeah, I love Canada Dry, yeah.
Okay, so that's good to know. Anyone listening, you gotta drink things that make the gradients move. Water doesn't do that.
Yep.
And okay, here's the thing I think I learned, maybe I'm wrong. If you just drink water, your body to get make the osmosis shit happen, has to put something into it, right? Like you can't like if you eat something really salty, like super salty, your stomach's gonna fill with water so that it balances out the water to salt ratio, no? Like if I took a fucking mouthful of salt right now, is my
Yeah.
stomach gonna fill with more water?
Yeah.
Because it's gotta make the balance better. Like, I can't
Exactly.
just take all this fucking salt in. Then I'll be
Yeah,
salty as shit.
exactly.
But what happens if I just do water? Then it's just gonna.
Then it just sits in the lumen, and eventually it will either be, like, pissed out, secreted out, or sits in the lumen for a bit. Or if, let's say, like, you have a ton of water and then you eat something, then some of it's absorbed.
Oh. So that's why you eat food and drink water. Because you can drink water and eating food gives you salt and potassium, magnesium, whatever it needs to have, and then the water gets sucked in through that.
Yeah.
Wow, dude, the more you know
It's so interesting, like, it really is, and, like, I'm looking at my board right now to see if there's anything else that I thought was interesting.
about the poopies or about
About
anything.
poopies, yeah, we learned so much about diarrhea, honestly,
Mhm.
but yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. So, maybe when you're anxious the next time, you just keep a gel tab with you keep a gel with you all the time and just
Yeah,
fucking
dude. Yeah.
like, "No,
I
no, no hypoxia here."
no hypoxia happening over here.
Mm-mm. That's so funny,
We are
holy
not in
shit.
a hypoxic state.
That's
So,
crazy.
yeah.
Well,
How about you?
that's an education right there. What'd you say?
How's your training been?
My training's been pretty good. I've been relatively consistent. You know, we've talked about this maybe on air, but definitely off air that working out for me is not the thing I love all the time, you know? So I'm pretty to, you know, I'm quick to be like, yeah, I'll fucking do it some other time, whatever.
Yeah.
I also am not training for anything again, so
Yeah.
you know, it is something that goes quickly for me. I don't know why. It's kind of been that, you know, I go through phases where like right now I'm really into it, so I'm chilling.
Mhm.
But there's definitely, you know, I'm like 2, 3 times a week I'll lift.
Mhm.
Um, and when I do lift, like I don't want to lose progress. Sometimes maybe I'll gain some progress, so I lift pretty hard when I do lift.
Mhm.
So you know, I'll do like a if I know that I'm gonna have a busy week and I don't want to work out because I'm busy, which is the thing that goes, I'll work out in a way that's like, well, I'm gonna be sore for, you know, I'm gonna be fucking toast.
Yeah.
Like if I need to squat and hinge, I'm squatting and hinging in a way that's like, you know, this will carry me through for 4 days. I'll be good. You know, instead of doing 2 working sets, I'll do 4 working sets and just make sure my legs are absolutely fucking fried.
Yeah,
And
where they
that,
need the recovery time.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll do that. If I'm working out consistently, like I am right now, like I'll bring the RP down a little bit, which is what I'm doing. 2 working sets. Um, I was doing Alec Blennis's plan there for a little bit, for a month. Just wanted to try it out. What was nice is he programs very similarly in his strength training days uh to how I program in
Okay.
general. Just based on, you know, did it for a month. I'm sure he programs a lot of different ways. But he seems like a person who sticks to the shit he does. You know, like he does the same thing because that's how you get better at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, he opens up with some like I don't know, priming the pump movements like adductor stuff, jump split squats, and you know, like eccentric calf raises, something like that.
Mhm.
And then there's a power movement, strength movement, strength movement, strength accessory movements.
Okay.
So it's pretty, you know, not cookie cutter, but
Yeah.
I was just curious to see how he did it, and you know, I was like, "Oh, okay." Nothing where I was like, "Oh, fuck, I program like shit. This is clearly like a really smart way to program I never thought of." It was like, "Oh, you know, he does the basics really well," which is nice to see. Not to get like, you know, a bunch of crazy shit that is like, oh, you
Right.
know, offset, goblet, 1 foot elevated, squat to lunge to step up with a twist, you know? It's like
Their eyes closed and
with your yeah, it's like, "Oh, you've got hang high pulls one day, muscle snatches the next day, and then, hang cleans day 3." That's like his power movements. And then it's like, you know, normal shit. A bunch of normal shit, which I was happy about. And I'm not, again, am I against doing all the fucking fancy shit? No. But I do think if you're only doing fancy shit, you're probably understimulated because you're a fucking giant baby.
for sure. Yeah, I like seeing other people's, like, training programs and all that.
Mhm.
Kinda see what other people are doing with things like I think I'm missing or, like, things I'm like, "Oh, man, like, I haven't done that in a while," and, like, I see them programming. It's like, I should get back to doing that either with myself or my athletes.
Mhm.
'Cause you right, like, over time, you learn so much stuff that you forget stuff that you've done that have been good, and it's like, kinda have to, like, cycle back, and sometimes, like, you can cycle back to your own programs or it'll come up in someone else's program, and you're just like, "Oh, yeah, like, I remember doing that," or the opposite, like, "I've never done that, let me try that out," and so
Mhm.
or it's kind of like you were saying, kinda, like, validating, like, "Okay, cool, like, not everyone out there is doing some crazy stuff, and this is good sound programming, and I'm also, like, on the right track.
Yeah. Yeah, it did, that's yeah, exactly, exactly, and there was some stuff in there that I was like, "Oh, fuck," like, "This is a great way to prime
Yeah,
like, to do the shit that he's gonna do later."
yeah,
Like, you know, as someone who writes a lot of programs, when you see when you've done it enough and you look at someone's program, I think you should be able to deduce like, okay, I did this warm up because this is my main thing. I'm doing these things because those next days I'm doing those things. You know,
yeah,
like day one you do like a a cable oblique twist is like where you like bend over and turn like the thoracic. It was like a thoracic rotation bent over with a cable, really heavy. And then you do roll ups which is like a reverse crunch holding onto a bench. Like he just I can see why he does the core stuff he does. He's got rotation, he's got something for flexion and resisting flexion or resisting extension, and then he's got like, he like covers his bases each week. And his first movement's a power movement because why would you put it anywhere else in the fucking workout? And then it's like your biggest, gnarliest lift, which is normally, and this is something I think for most people, maybe even athletes, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong because that's not as much of my lane, but if I'm doing total body days, most, 2 it's if you're 3 days a week, 2 of those days you're doing a squat and a like, I just think the squat and the hinge should be, like, your most important, and your bench like, your pressing movements and your pulling movements just are never as big as those. By definition, they can't be. Like, if you can out bench press your squat, your deadlift, it's because 'cause you're a fucking weak ass string bean, and you gotta fix that.
mm,
If you can bench press or bent row more than your squat or your deadlift, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why are you such a punk? And that's how his is. It's like you're front squatting day one with a bench press. Day two, you're doing a pendulum squat of some kind. I just did Hatfields, and day three was a heavy hinge. And I think that for most people, most of the time, that's the best way to go about it. Is like you got to have a really fucking strong lower body. You know,
yeah,
it's just so fucking important. And that was nice to see. So it's nice to be externally validated for the opinion I already hold.
yeah. No, I agree with you there. I think even for sports that are pretty taxing on the lower body, let's say like running, like I'm still having a lot of lower body on there. Every day there's something like if we have a primary squat, then there's going to be a hinge accessory
Hmm.
thing on the next day. Let's say the hinge or posterior chain is the main work, then we're going to have some type of squatting
Hmm.
accessory, right? Like I was actually doing this week's programming for try and like yeah, I was going through that same, like, logic that I'm telling you right now. I'm like, well, they're doing, I'm having them do, like, tempo dumbbell RDLs, so their accessory squat, like, yeah, I don't have to load them up. Maybe I'll have them do, like, TRX pistol squats or something like that. Some squatting movements that's gonna really benefit them, unilateral, something, yeah, I agree. Like, even on tired legs, you can work out your legs. And obviously, if you have a race coming up, like in a few days or whatever, that's where tapering and like smart
Hmm.
deload is in. But if you're not, you should be okay.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean that's the conversation I have with. There's a cyclist I work with that, sometimes she's like, I get on these rides and I'm like, sometimes she's not keeping pace, which is, I've had that conversation with her, but I'm always like, if you can keep pretty close to a working pace that you need to, and your legs are tired, that's kind of what it's supposed to be. Like the conversation about like training is supposed to, like when you're training to do something hard, the training is going to kind of make you feel beat up for a while. And then we get to the end of the block towards your race and we bring it all down and you recover and you're like, you get to the race and you're like, oh, fuck, I'm going to fly on this thing.
Hmm.
It's like when people are like, oh, my legs are a little bit sore, so maybe I won't do the leg stuff today. It's like, what? Yeah. Like, are you walking out of here and then tomorrow morning you have a race? Like, no, I don't do anything. I don't do any races. It's like,
Yeah, it's
go do legs, dude. What the fuck?
yeah, it's
Tired. Suck it up.
yeah. probably because 'cause they're not strong enough.
I know. Yeah, imagine if you were just stronger. Wouldn't that be crazy?
There been any scenarios where generally not s how do I word this? Have there been scenarios where you're just like, you know, someone you want them to lift heavy, you want them to go heavier or whatever, like strength is a really big focus, but where you're kinda like, "I have to back off because it's actually interfering with the goal that they have."
Um, yeah, I definitely.
Yeah.
Um, I think, some of that's learning about that person, like the athlete or the person you're working with, where it's like, hey, I think what I was saying about like the cyclist I work with, the conversation I had with her is like, if you're doing these cycling exercises, which is her focus, and you aren't able to keep the paces you need to for your workout because your legs are so smoked, that's what I need to know because then I'll dial back or time it differently about what we're doing.
Mhm.
Then and it's like, well, all I did was when we were doing her strength work and she was doing that stuff, or when we were doing any leg work and she's doing these hard intervals, the workout she has before is much more strength and or power focused, and
Mm.
the volume's just not as high. So she'll do like 1 or 2 working, like, really like, harder top sets, but it's like 3 reps, 4 reps, just so
Mm.
I'm not blowing her legs out. Like, she's worked, but she's not worked, so that I've definitely done. Like I have a soccer player, a high school soccer player who at this point he's like pretty conditioned to it, so it doesn't affect him. He's also 17, so it's like this kid is a monster. And oh yeah, yeah, yeah. He just works his ass off. And that's the conversation I have with him. Like if you ever feel like you're getting to your practices and not able to perform or feeling like you're running on noodles, let me know and we'll dial it back. And if you get to games, but the conversation I had with him was the week, like if you have a game on Saturday, that whole, and you like, you know, you're going to play the whole time that week, whatever we're doing, just dial it back to like by like 30%. So if you have 5 sets, just take off like a set, you know,
Mhm.
and just like cut the weight back a little bit. Doesn't need to be anything heavy, doesn't need anything crazy. Or if you want to go heavy, just cut the reps down and cut a set off, and
Mhm.
then finish with biceps and triceps. Um, so I still have him do his jump and his plyometric stuff, and then his strength stuff, I just dial it back, and his hypertrophy stuff, I just dial it back. If it's not his legs, if it's his upper body, I don't give a fuck because I've never had that be a problem. Like it's always the legs, right?
Yeah.
Like field athletes, cycling, running, it's always the legs that cause no problem. Like no athlete was ever like, "Oh, I didn't finish my run because my shoulders were so sore." You know,
Yeah.
this is not happening. But like the runners, like the triathlon woman I work with in the morning, she works with a coach, and I program her taper. So she likes a 2-week taper. It's just the way she is communicated. She likes to do it. So 2 weeks out from her race, she does like 1 set less of the same workout.
Mhm.
And then the week before I change her Friday workout to be pretty easy. And then her Monday workout is like maybe an extra set less. Like she does 2 sets of everything and then does a bunch of stretching and foam rolling because she likes to do it. And then she's out the door.
Yeah.
But I just pull that back. But I've definitely like with my one-on-one that I do, who's a cyclist, I've definitely fucked her legs up. And
Yeah.
then, but she's not competing right now.
Right.
So she like does, fun, competitive with friend rides on Saturday and Sundays. And I'm like, there's no medals here.
Yeah.
She's 67, 68, and weighs, well, not a lot, and can deadlift like 1.8, 1.9 times her body weight right now. I think more. Oh yeah, no, yeah, about that. And she's stoked on that. And her bone density's gone up and her muscle mass has gone up. And that's a conversation I have with her too, where it's like, we're definitely do this for the athletic stuff because that's what you want, but I'm also concerned about the health metrics. Your muscle mass needs to stay there. Your bone density needs to get better. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that answers the question. Does that answer the question?
That answers it.
Yeah. Have you ever done it?
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
I do it, I think part of it's giving the athlete a little bit more, like, say in their programming, like, whether I agree with it or not, I'll, like, try to meet them halfway. Uh, I think it also depends on the athlete, like, some athletes are really in tune with training and their body and all that, and they're smart.
Mhm.
So if I see an athlete's pretty good with, they're good with their nutrition, they're good with sleep, they're good with, stress management, and I can see that they make efforts for all these things. I'll give them I'll listen to them definitely a lot more because I'm
Sure.
like, "Oh, you're generally pretty smart, you understand what you need, so, like, I'm gonna meet you, halfway, if not more." Right? Other athletes where I'm like, "Eh," like, they drink, they go out, they're not sleeping well, there's other things they could, focus on. That's where I don't listen to them as much because like, you need to fix that before you start teaching here. Um, but I was thinking about, one of my athletes that have a male triathlete, and he's shorter. Um, Dude packs on muscle, like, if he wanted to go to bodybuilding, he was made for it because he's
Oh.
and just, like, he's a triathlete and he's built, like, huge legs, like, very muscular. So it's like, I actually have to be a little bit more careful
Mhm.
strength side of things with him because, like, when he does gain muscle, he's mentioned, and I haven't tested him for this, but he's mentioned, like, he feels like his range of motion is kind of limited and all that, which could be from like soreness, all that. Maybe I just have to have him go to deeper ranges of motion, I think, is I
Mhm.
need better at having him do that. But he also does pack on a lot of muscle and he's so dense and small that I do see like him kind of like having more muscle and just it being harder. And then like the oxygen consumption that's required for that level of muscle for his height. Um,
Mhm.
he's one actually, like, a rare case where I'm like, "Actually, I have to, like, really be careful with, like, the dosage of what exercises I'm giving him." He mentioned something about, like, benching, and I'm like at first, I was like, "Well," but then I thought about him more, I was like, "He kinda has a point, like, he has massive chest for his size for a triathlete, like, and he does just, like, maybe doing other things to get the same benefit." So he's a weird case study where I'm like, have to pay a little bit more attention. So I was curious if you had one of those, but yeah, he's
No, nothing like that. I mean, I think with, I don't work with too many athletes. I think the runners I work with, honestly, I wish and I think would benefit them purely on, a few like anecdata people,
Mhm.
but a lot of the like understanding and listening to other coaches like yourself to talk about stuff is like some of these like amateur runners, hobbyist runners, I think would benefit greatly from being a little bit bigger in terms of muscle mass.
Yes.
And they don't see it that way. That a lot of these people are stuck in the, like, thin and trim and slim runners where
Yeah.
it's like, well and they'll point at professional runners that are like the Kenyan group that are like twigs. I'm like, I think they're actually pretty strong. Like, if you go look into some of these, endurance athletes, they may look small, but they're really, really strong. And also think sometimes people like to look at edge cases and think that they're an edge case.
Yeah.
And it's like, actually, no, you're a 5'7" 40-year-old or 50-year-old or 6-year-old white lady who's been running for 4 years.
Yeah.
No, no, wrong. Like,
Yeah.
there's this guy I follow, Stu Kodiak Barbell, who posted a thing that was like, if I hear another fucking person talk about edge case training, you're not edge case. You're not the edge case. If you were, you'd have known it by now. You're not. And I do wanna say that to people sometimes who, like, constantly bring up, like, crazy training styles they see and, like, "Well, the number 1 cycler in the world does this," and I'm like, "Yeah," and the number 1 golfer in the world right now has one of the weirdest finishes on his golf swing that no don't do it. You're
Yeah.
not him. You're never gonna be him. Like, you're not an edge case, stop acting like one. If you were an edge case, you would have gone to school for it. You would have gone professional for it. You're just not. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not an edge case. You're not an edge case. Uh,
Exactly.
maybe there's some things in our life that we are, but it's fucking sure as shit not lifting. Like, who is it? Mitchell Hooper, the world's strongest man, did this video and was like, "Hey, if you're an aspiring strong athlete, man or woman, and your first deadlift was not north of 400 pounds, you're not gonna make it in the sport." And I was like, "Oh,
Yeah,
got it,
exactly.
got it." You know, like when he walked up to the bar the first time, I think his first ever pull off the floor was like 450 or something. And it's like, oh, my first squat was like 95 pounds.
Yeah, right, that's impressive, right?
Yeah.
Steffi Cohen,
Mhm.
listening to something of her, like, years ago, and it was her boyfriend at the time, he was like, "Yeah, like, she was a professional soccer player. She never really, like, weightlifted before, and the first time she ever deadlifted," and remind you, she's a professional soccer player, so she wasn't, like, super built, and she's
Mhm.
short. She's, like, 5'2", and the first time she deadlifted was, 315, like, with no training whatsoever, like, just
Yeah.
first time dead and, for someone that size, it's like, "Okay, this is a genetic freak."
Yeah.
That's yeah,
Yeah, she's strong as shit, dude. She's crazy.
yeah,
She is stacked. That's so funny.
yeah.
Well, hey, that was a good return podcast, dude.
Yeah, I think so.
The
Yes.
return cast went great.
Yeah.
Um, okay, for the outro, here's what we're asking again. Just share it with one person. You know, you watched this, you listened clearly the whole way through. If your name's Carmen, you've already done your job. You've already done your job. We don't need any. I mean, always will take the shares, but dude, you've done your job. Okay. If your name is not Carmen, um, you've got a job to do, and that is share this with people so that it's shared with people. And that's it. And we'll keep doing it. And that's what I got. Like, comment, subscribe, ask us questions. We're back, bitches. So that's it. Thank you for watching Unscripted Strength, episode 24. Title: Got diarrhea?
Yeah, there we go. Something about diarrhea.
Dude, I mean, we could make the title like the science behind diarrhea and
Yeah.
just see how that does.
It's gonna be a hit.
Dude, I bet it would be.
Yeah.
I'm for sure we're clipping that entire piece about diarrhea
Yeah. We got it.
because not even just because it's funny. I think people should know more about diarrhea because I think it's interesting. And if you're scared about talking about poop, you're a child.
Yeah.
You're literally a fucking child.
Yeah.
We all poop. If you act like you don't, you should see a doctor. If you don't, you should see a doctor. Honestly, that's crazy. That's wild. That's bullshit. All right, that's it. Later.